Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about induction of labor, which comes under OBG unit 12. So let's start. First we are going to see the introduction. The culmination of normal pregnancy involves three stages. So normal pregnancy we have three stages, that is pre-labor, cervical ripening and labor. Endogenous prostaglandin play a part in all these processes. Intervention to artificially ripening the cervix, induce uterine contraction and augment labor once it is progress also lack distinct boundaries. So it means normally the labor have three stages: pre, cervical ripening and labor. But in case of induction of labor, we are going to induce this labor artificially. We are going to ripen the cervix artificially. We are going to start the uterine contraction artificially. That is the introduction of induction of labor. Next is definition. Induction of labor means initiation of uterine contraction by any method. It may be medical, surgical or combined for the purpose of vaginal delivery. So this is the definition of induction of labor. So where we can use either medical method or you can use surgical method, or you can combine both medical and surgical. So we can go for a vaginal delivery, which is artificial. We are going to induce the labor. So this is about the definition of induction of labor. Next is goals of induction of labor. The goal of induction of labor to eliminate the potential risk of the fetus with prolonged intrauterine existence while minimizing the likelihood of operative delivery. So we are going to reduce the risk in the fetus and as well as in the mother with the help of induction of labor. This is our goal. Next we are going to study about the indication of induction labor. It means where we can use this procedure. First point is hypertensive disorder of pregnancy. It means if mother have high blood pressure during the pregnancy. Second, if the mother have diabetes or any renal disease. Renal means kidney disease. Third one is chronic pulmonary disease if the mother have any lungs disorder. Fourth one is premature rupture of membrane. So if the membrane got ruptured prematurely, that also can indicate the induction of labor. Next R is isoimmunization, and next one is post-dated pregnancy. It means when suppose the person is having the date on 1 month, but it is not happening in the same time, it is postponed. In that case also we can go for induction of labor. Next we are going to see the contraindication of induction of labor or IOL. First one is malpresentation. Malpresentation means like breast presentation, transverse presentation or oblique presentation. So normally if only head is the presenting part is called as head presentation or cephalic presentation. That is the normal presentation. Other than that, any body part of the fetus is a presenting part, means we will call it is a malpresentation. Next is high risk pregnancy with fetal compromises. See if the pregnancy is very high, okay, with the fetal compromises. Next one is heart diseases. Next one is umbilical cord prolapse and cervical carcinoma. So in this condition we can't advise the patient to undergo induction of labor. So these are the contraindication of induction of labor. Next we are going to see the criteria before induction. So if the patient or if the mother is undergoing the induction of labor, before that what are the criteria they have to follow? First one, sure estimation of week of gestation. So they should have a confirmed week of gestation date. Evidence of fetal maturity, we have to confirm that fetal is mature enough to survive. Next one is absence of cephalopelvic disproportion. We have to see that there should not be any cephalopelvic disproportion. Next one is an engaged head in longitudinal lie. Next one is cervix is ready for the delivery, and next one is high score of Bishop score. These are the criteria we have to follow before conducting the induction of labor. So I'll tell you now what about the Bishop's score? So this is the main indicator for knowing that whether we can go for induction of labor or not. So this is about the Bishop's score. Okay, so with this only we are going to find out whether mother can undergo induction of labor or not. So how? The first, it is about the cervix, because that vagina, that reproductive organs is ready for not for the delivery. Suppose in the cervix, so that's opening, it's like 0, 1, 2, 3, like this we can give score. So first, if the disposition is like post, we'll give 0 score. If it is mild posterior, we'll give 1 score. If it is anterior, we'll give 2 scoring. Then we have to see the consistency. So if it is firm, we are going to give 0. If it is medium, we are going to give 1. If it is soft, we are going to give 2. Same thing for the assessment also. If it is 0 to 30%, 0 score. If it is 40 to 50%, 1 score. If it is 60 to 70%, 2. And if it is above 80%, we are going to give 3. Next, dilatation of the cervix. If it is closed, we are going to give 0. If the cervix is 1 to 2 centimeter diameter, then we are going to give 1. If it is 3 to 4 centimeter dilatation, we are going to give 2. And if it is more than 5, we are going to give 3. Next, we are going to see the head station. So for that, -3 station 0, -2 1, -1 2. If it is +1 or +2, we are going to give 3. So with the help of this table, we are going to find out that mother is like eligible or mother can go undergo that induction of labor or not, because we have studied in the criteria. There is one criteria that we have to see that cervix is ready for or not. So with the help of this calculation, we are going to find out that cervix is ready or not. Next, down I have mentioned some point like score of 5 or less. If the calculation came 5 or less, it suggests that labor is unlikely to start without induction. Next, if the score of 9 or more, it indicates that labor will mostly likely commence spontaneously. Next one, a low Bishop score often indicates that induction is unlikely to be successful. A score of 8 or greater is reliably predictive of successful induction. So with this score, we can find out that whether to conduct induction of labor or not. Next is method of induction of labor. So in that we have 3 methods. Already I have explained. One is medical with the help of medicine. One is surgical method with the help of surgery. One is combined method with the help of medicine as well as surgery. So in the medical method, we are going to use the medicine prostaglandin. In the prostaglandin, PGE2 and PGE1, oxytocin and mifepristone. So these are the medicine we are going to use for the induction of labor. PGE2 and PGF2 both cause myometrial contraction. PGE2 is primarily important for the cervical reopening. Okay, it will help in the open of the cervix. PGE1, which is known as misoprostol, is currently being used either transvaginal or orally. And mifepristone blocks both progesterone and glucocorticosteroid receptor and 200 mg vaginally daily for 2 days. So these are the drugs that can be used for induction of labor. And one more is oxytocin, important one. It is an endogenous uterotonic that stimulates the uterine contraction. So it helps in the contraction of the uterus. Oxytocin receptor contraction increase during pregnancy and labor. Oxytocin act by a receptor medication. Okay, it voltages the medicated calcium channel and prostaglandin presentation. So it is very important for the contraction of the uterus. So these are the 3 important drugs: prostaglandin, mifepristone and oxytocin. Next is surgical method. In the surgical method, we have 3 methods. One is artificial rupture of membrane. In the short form, we'll say ARM. One is stripping the membrane, and one is low rupture of membrane. So this is about the surgical method of induction of labor. So you can see the picture, artificially rupture of membrane using amni-hook. With the help of this hook, they are going to artificially rupture the membrane. That's layer. Okay, that is artificially they are going to rupture. See, this is amniotic hook or amniotomy hook. With the help of this only, they are going to rupture the embryonic membrane. So mechanism of onset of labor may be related with the stretching of the three cervix or separation of the membrane and reduction of the amniotic fluid volume. So effective depends on the state of cervix and station of the presenting part. An advantage of amniotomy is depend on high success rate. It has a high success rate. Next one is low rupture of membrane. It is widely practiced nowadays with high degree of success. The membrane below the presenting part overlying the internal os are ruptured to drain some amount of amniotic fluid. So this is called as low rupture of membrane. You can see in the picture. So what they are going to do, the membrane, okay, which is just below the presenting part above the internal os. So there they are going to make a rupturing. So what will happen, that some amniotic fluid will come out. The procedure, how they are going to do it, it is an outdoor procedure. The patient is asked to empty the bladder. The procedure may be conducted in labor ward or in a operation theatre if the risk is cord prolapse is high. Okay, so what we can do it, we have to ask the patient for empty the bladder, and you can conduct the procedure in the labor ward as well as in OT. If there is a risk of cord prolapse, then we can ask the patient for going to the OT. Otherwise you can conduct in the labor ward only. So what are the steps? First, ask the patient to be in lithotomy position. Full surgical asepsis is to be taken. 2 fingers are introduced into the vagina, smeared with antiseptic ointment. The index finger is passed through the cervical canal beyond the internal os, and the membrane are swept free from the lower segment as far as reached by the finger. Next, with 1 or 2 fingers still in the cervical canal, with the palmar surface upward, a long coarse forceps with the blade closed or an amniotic hook is introduced along the palmar aspect of the finger up to the membrane. So these are the steps, and if you see this picture, you will get an idea how they are going to do this. So this is about the low rupture of membrane. Next one is stripping the membrane. Stripping of the membrane means digital separation of the chorioamniotic membrane from the wall of the cervix and lower uterine segment. Sweeping of membrane is done prior to ARM, artificial rupture of membrane. It is simple, safe and beneficial for the induction of labor. Next is combined method. So it means we are going to use air medicine as well as surgical procedure. So first one is combined medical and surgical method are commonly used to increase the efficacy of induction by reducing the induction delivery interval. The oxytocin infusion is started either prior to or following rupture of membrane, depending mainly upon the state of cervix and head-brim relation. Next, with the head not engaged, it is preferable to induce the prostaglandin gel or to start oxytocin infusion following by the artificial rupture of membrane. It means we can use medication as well as the surgical procedure combinedly. Next we are going to see the nurse's responsibility of medical indication. So in that, nurse should know about the administration of drug. Nurse should administer PGE2 gel 0.5 mg before the cervical reopening. Nurse should observe about the cervical reopening. Nurse should monitor for 30 minutes after she should given drugs, 3 or 4 doses after 6 hours. Nurse should know about the dose and the route of misoprostol drugs. Nurse should administer 25 gram vaginally every 4 hours. And nurse should know about the preparation of oxytocin solution. Oxytocin should be started in low dose with the interval of 20 to 30 minutes. And it should be given with the 2 units of 500 ml of ringer-lacting solution with the drops rate of 60 drops per minute. Next, nurse's responsibility of surgical induction of labor. First of all, you have to follow all the aseptic techniques, and you should put proper position. You should do the vaginal examination with the proper aseptic technique, and you should know about the how to assess in procedure of low rupture of membrane, and you should know about the instrument which is used in the surgical induction of labor, and you should know how to use the amniotic hook, and you should observe by the visible escape of amniotic fluid. So these are the nurse's responsibility or key point that we have to remember while conducting the induction of labor. So with this we have finished induction of labor. Thank you everyone.